Lindley, it's great to sit down with you to discuss the state of the brokerage industry. Before we start, let's introduce ourselves. So Lindley Henzerling is the Chief Strategy Officer of Aerospike, and my name is Stuart Tarmy. I'm the Global Director for the Financial Services Business Line at Aerospike. So the brokerage industry is certainly dynamic and has been going through a lot of changes due to the introduction of zero-cost online stock trading and the shift to more online transactions, partially due to COVID. I'd like to explore these dynamics and how Aerospike can help brokerage firms to not only adapt to the new reality, but to use these challenging times as an impetus to thrive and grow. What I'd like to do now is dig deeper into the financial service industry and in particular in the brokerage industry. So Aerospike works with brokerage firms to gain competitive advantage throughout their entire enterprise, including their front, middle, and back office. Can you describe some Aerospike use cases for each of these areas? And let's start off with the front office.
Yeah, in the front office, we've done quite a bit of work with quantitative trading systems and the analytics behind them. As I mentioned, we really focus where there is a lot of data that can be applied to a problem, but that has to be read quickly and applied to the task. It's also a question of how often you can refresh that data and how often you can go through a cleansing of that data and augmentation of that data or merging of different data sets. We've had people who are doing this, and they were refreshing once a week, once every 2 weeks in the data, trying to keep up with it that way. We've been able to compress the time to do that into 10 to 15 minutes instead of, perhaps an overnight or multi-day affair. And so they're able to work with newer data, and they're also able to provision new models more quickly. So if someone gets an idea and wants to, pull data from a number of stores and create a database to feed that quantitative analysis, they can put that together much faster. So you get velocity both in the feedback within a given system, but also velocity in creating new algorithms and new quantitative frameworks. And so we've been very encouraged by the uptake in that area, being applied to foreign exchange, to CDOs, as well as just normal equities in the stock market.
Lily, thanks for that overview. And I'll just add that for these analytics research firms, the ability to process huge amounts of data very quickly is just critical as these firms are pursuing beating their benchmarks by which they're measured and being able to generate additional alpha for their investors. So it helps put these firms really at the forefront in the industry. So let's now move over to how we help companies in middle office. Lenny, if you can give a little bit of an overview there, would be terrific.
Yeah, we've got a brokerage firm, actually several that are using us in very similar ways. But they have back office systems that they've had for a long time that keep them in sync with regulatory requirements, reporting requirements from a financial standpoint, pulling that into their financial statements and such. And they're not going to get rid of those back office systems. And simultaneously, the world for brokerages and I'd say commercial banks and retail banks as well has changed, because there's a sense that you have to open up your systems to real-time access to all the clients so that they can see the status of their business with the firm, so that the firm can also see across all their clients in real time what's going on, because there's a massive amount of interaction going on simultaneously. So in this example, the brokerage was looking at their margin loan business and wanting to see the status of their customers' portfolios and have that go into it and be able to approve margin loans more quickly. So they were doing this with a refresh overnight and holding it in a cache. They changed that using Aerospike to do a refresh essentially of their models every 3 minutes. And the way they did this was they did those synchronizations with the back office systems nightly. And then they would use Aerospike as the system of record for intraday activity. And this keys on a very specific capability that Aerospike has, which is it is a NoSQL database. It scales out like a NoSQL database, but we also support strongly consistent transactions, so no data is lost. And this allows them to, continuously essentially have a picture of their book of business, and so that they can, look at that, play it against the rules they have, and then grant those margin loans and create business and not miss business just because they're out of date in the picture they have of their customer and of their entire book of business. So our ability to support, up to 13 billion queries a day is what they reported, with 99.9% of the requests at sub-milliseconds, right? And doing this for a book of business that includes 14 million different accounts has been really a change for them to be able to provide this service that meets the expectations of people in today's modern, world, where real-time access to data and real-time processing of their transactions is considered normal.
Lindley, that's terrific, and it's a lot of what I'm seeing out there also, where a lot of the brokerage firms, retail brokerage firms, are not going to just get rid of their batch systems, but to be able to convert them into a customer-facing real-time solution is terrific, and that's right in the trend in the retail brokerage industry, where they're trying to take solutions that are very common in the institutional world, institutional trading, and migrate them to retail investors. And so that's a great example of how we help companies do this. So let's close off this section just talking about an example use case in back office.
Yeah, in the back office, we see increasingly Aerospike being put underneath systems that are dealing with settlement or clearing of trades and such. And so we've been used for foreign exchange. We've been used for credit default swaps. And what comes into play here is that not only do we have, sub-millisecond per transaction capability, but we also scale out and have massive throughput capability. So, if you're trying to parallelize and run through settlement of lots of business, you can do this with Aerospike in a very efficient manner and get it done very quickly. And as I said, we have a number of places that are trading houses or just doing settlement for other houses. Doing that for everything from standard equities to credit default swap to foreign exchange. And it really relies on, our ability to scale out and be elastic, to process things quickly, but also to have a broad throughput that can process many things.
Lindley, thank you for sharing those highlights of the Aerospike technology. I want to thank you for your time and insights. It's always great being able to spend time with you. So in closing, I'd like to encourage our listeners to contact us for further information on our use cases, our approach, and how we can help you accelerate your business transformation to adapt and thrive in today's dynamic business environment. So thank you.